right, in this video we're going to talk about the Taurus-Scorpio axis. We're going to look at what it means to have a Taurus ascendant with a Scorpio descendant, a Scorpio ascendant with a Taurus descendant, and then we're going to throw Rahu and Ketu in the mix also. So first and foremost, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I really appreciate it. And if you could do me a favor, subscribe to my YouTube page. I'd really appreciate it. And if you're interested about Taurus and Scorpio, maybe you've got some planets there, maybe you want to know about your Rahu Ketu, check out my website, danceofthecosmos.com, request a reading. And then also, let's get started, shall we? All right. So basically, let's bring this graphic up here. And now what we're going to be talking about, like I already prefaced this material, we're going to be talking about Taurus and Scorpio. So the first thing we need to know about Taurus and Scorpio is that they are is about what they share actually. And they are both, the two qualities that they share are that they are a fixed Rashi and a feminine Rashi. So that's really what this particular axis that we're looking at with Taurus and Scorpio right here. What we're looking at is the fixed feminine nature of our lives. So feminine doesn't necessarily mean gender, doesn't necessarily not mean feminine qualities necessarily, but in a more general idea of feminine is about being receptive, about looking at what we have basically. And it's fixed. So fixed means in a long-term, grander sense of what we have. So being that Taurus here is an Earth Rashi, Taurus is going to be looking at the things that we have in our lives that provide value to us, but we're looking at the concrete things in our life to provide that are value for us. And being that Taurus is also a feminine sign, but it's also ruled by Venus, then what it's about this reciprocal value that we provide to the world. And reciprocal value we provide to the world is all about material security. So it's about feeling safe and comfortable with the things that we actually have, with the concrete existing things. Now, Scorpio is a water Rashi. So it's a fixed feminine. So it's about it's about our deeper nature of who we are. Water signs are always about emotional nature. And so with Scorpio, it's about what's going on underneath the scenes, not the constant flow of emotions that just tends to happen from moment to moment, from happy to see our dog to sad to see our boss. You know, Scorpio isn't about that. That's more like Cancer. Scorpio as a water sign is more about, since it's fixed, and since it's also tamasic, it's looking at the deeper, darker side of our nature, the more hidden side of our nature. And this is about finding emotional security. Because if we can be at peace and come to terms with and understand and really become aware of what it is that's driving us, what it is that we really need to get that longer sense of comfortability, then we're going to have a healthier sense of Scorpio. So you could see where this axis, what it's really about. So with Taurus is it's about feeling comfortable long-term in the world, you know, about being able to provide long-term security in the world by the things that are in the world, so that we feel comforted, so that we feel valued. And then for Scorpio, it's about finding long-term understanding of our internal nature and what really drives us, what is hidden beneath what we're at the core of who we are, basically. So now you'll see that there are other qualities here, and you can just use those qualities that I've written. These are not all the qualities, and some of these aren't even written, like steady, I added, material security, I added. But these are just some qualities just to kind of generate your thinking. I'm not going to sit here. I've made other videos on the Rashis, and you can watch those videos. And those videos describe the Rashis in detail about what they are. Anyhow, so with that being said, let's go ahead and start looking here now if we were to have a Taurus ascendant and what it means to have a Scorpio descendant. So if you're a Taurus ascendant, then that means that your nature, your inherent nature, quality of your personality is to be this, to be able to provide value to the world. And you understand how important it is to feel valued in the world by the things that you're doing, by the people that you're surrounding yourself, and by being responsible, by being hardworking, by adding more and more things, you know. And so there's a certain nature of a Taurus person, since that is their nature. They have a certain quality about them that perhaps maybe they spend too much time thinking about how I can be of value to somebody else. You know, how I can be, what concrete things I can do to help. When sometimes, well, actually not sometimes, okay, real quick, all other factors equal in the chart for a Taurus ascendant. This isn't for everybody because it depends on where your planets are placed and a whole host of other factors. But all other factors equal for a Taurus ascendant, what these people typically need to work towards is making a deeper connection with the people in their lives and with the things in their lives. And not just about providing just like a material value of like, okay, I'm going to support, I love you, and I'm going to show you I love you because I give you $20 a week or whatever it is, you know, and then in return you give me food or something. What Taurus natives need to do is to work towards Scorpio, which is to just find a deep sense of connection with the things in the world. Not a deep sense of value of I see myself as a value of this picture, but as I feel that I'm deeply connected, that this is where I need to be, that this is who I am, and this is my deeper nature. And looking inside, and not just looking outside to what people and things in the world can provide to them, but looking inside and seeing how they can feel deeply devoted to that, how that can make them feel more secure in themselves, emotionally. And so that's kind of the growth pattern for a Taurus ascendant, all other factors equal, is to learn to become more emotionally secure in their nature with the things that are there. And we become emotionally secure, like I just said before, when we're deeply devoted to those things. Now, let's flip the script. Now let's look at a Scorpio ascendant. So a Scorpio ascendant is a type of person who's more aware and takes more time looking at themselves and what it is that makes them tick and what's hidden underneath. Not that little stream of emotion, but that deep lake, that deep pool of emotion, of what it is that makes, you know, that causes them to drive. What is the things that they deeply desire and what they really want? And Scorpio people, because it's the image of a scorpion, can be a little bit more protective because it's also a Tamasic Rashi. They can be a little bit more protective and aware of the fears of the things that can take away their security and want to protect that. And so what these people need to learn, the big growth pattern, all other factors equal, for a Scorpio ascendant is to learn to be more like Taurus. And what that means is to actually find value in the world instead of just looking at themselves and looking at what can go wrong and looking at and trying to protect their emotional nature and trying to be so emotionally secure. They need to realize that life, that, you know what, you can become emotionally secure with things. You can make a deep emotional connection with the things in your life, but you also have to be practical as well. So these people are learning to be practical and provide value, and they will end up finding out that they will be easier to deeply connect with other people and the other things that they want in their lives and the things that they want to do and become by becoming more practical, by realizing it's a game of give and take, of being responsible. So as soon as Scorpio people start being more responsible as Scorpio ascendants, all other factors equal, start being responsible by utilizing their Taurus nature, and they will find that they're more able to really establish that deep connection, to really find that emotional security. Because a material security and emotional security are intrinsically connected, and they're really just two ends of the same stick. They're both basically this fixed feminine axis is really what we're talking about here. So now let's go ahead and throw Ketu in Taurus and Rahu in Scorpio. So the difference between Ketu and the difference between the ascendant and descendant. So you can always relate Ketu like you would look at as the ascendant. You can always look at Rahu as the descendant, but it's quite different because what Ketu and Rahu represent. So Ketu represents like the past karmas from our past lifetimes, and we've developed an over dependence upon the nature of the sign that Ketu is in. And in this lifetime, that overly dependent nature is going to become, it's not going to feel as right when we go there. And not only that is going to happen, the more we lean on the sign of Taurus or the sign of Ketu, the more that we're going to get pulled into the sign of Rahu, which is the area that we have no karmic familiarity or no karmic experience in. And so that's the way these nodes work. So for a Ketu Taurus person, this is a person that was always about materially secure. I mean, and they were very competent, overly competent, so much that they ignored the emotional content, emotional connection. So someone with Ketu and Taurus is the type of person who's very good at providing, value for things and seeing value in the world. But the more that they lean on just making it between like, what can I give you and what can you give me in return, the more that they're going to find an emptiness. Or not necessarily an emptiness, it'll be an emptiness in emotional security because they're unexperienced with it. The more they'll find themselves not connected to those things at all. So a Ketu Taurus person is going to be trying to connect by being practical, but they're going to in that cycle of value, that reciprocal value that we can get with the world when we're being responsible and utilizing our resources correctly and being a resource to other people and things in our life. Well, the more that they lean towards just that, like tit for tat, the more that they're going to realize, wow, I'm not really connected. I really don't feel this sense of connection. So the more that they try and feel value, the more they feel less connected to it, or the more they feel confused about, wow, I don't really feel this deeper sense. This isn't really making me feel more innerly, more secure internally. And so what these people need to do, because Rahu in Scorpio represents just that. Rahu in Scorpio represents that karmic unfamiliarity, that karmic inexperience with diving into our deeper nature. So these are the type of people that will be more fearful, just all other factors equal, will be more fearful because, Rahu is a tamasic planet. Scorpio is a tamasic sign. It deals with our fears and our hidden psychology. So these are the type of people that probably need a little bit more help to be able to realize how to make that deeper connection. And as is the case with Ketu and Rahu, as you progress through life, as you get pulled more into these situations where you're leaning on Ketu and coming into Rahu, what you're going to experience is, as a person gets older, typically once they get into their 50s, that's going to be like, they're going to be more experienced with that and realizing that, you know what, it's not about what I provide, it's how I connect. So now let's flip the script. Let's put Ketu in Scorpio and Rahu in Taurus. So this is the exact same thing that I just mentioned, but just reversed. So basically, Ketu Scorpio, this person is the type that has always been about how things affect me on a deep, deep level, and they're more aware of their psychology and, what's churning underneath here, and about finding a deep connection with things and finding like this deep devotion with things. But what happens is the more that they try and just deeply connect with things, the more that they're forced into situations because of Rahu's placement in Taurus, where it's like, where it's like they find out that it's like, well, what do I do to actually keep this thing functioning? Because they won't be able to make these deep connections, because they're going to find out every time they go to make a deep connection that there's something material that they need to do. There's something of value. They have to learn how to provide value to other people, to other things in their life, how to become part of the greater whole where we're working and being responsible. It's not just about us knowing what it is that drives us and is under the hood, so to speak. Not to know how the engine works of our mechanical psychology and stuff, but to actually do things like in an earthly sense, you know. So people with K2 and Scorpio tend to want to just deeply connect to things. Like I just feel that's the way to go. But then when they try to actually connect with that, it doesn't feel right because they're put into a situation where it's like, well, yeah, we have to provide value. Well, not, you know, you can't just deeply connect. You have to practically connect. It's an earth sign. So, I mean, Rahu is in an earth sign now, about being able to find value, and people will probably find a lesser value because what they're going to have is this deep yearning for something and things in their life, and then they're just going to feel like because they're karmically unfamiliar, inexperienced with Taurus, they're probably going to experience a sense of, well, gee, I don't know if I'm really worth that thing that I want so bad. This is another kind of a difficult connection. Anytime you have the nodes getting into water and earth signs, it's always a more difficult experience to be had. So anyways, I could talk about Rahu and K2 forever, and I probably will in later videos. Again, if you like what you see, subscribe to my channel. If you have more questions about your chart, check out my website, request a reading. We'll do what we can. And thank you for taking the time to watch this. And namaste.